The meeting of the Babysitters Club is now in session. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Now for today's video is a video that we are very excited for, and you might think, who's we? Me and Spencer from Intentionally Bookish on YouTube and on Instagram have created the Babysitters Club Book Tag. It's a mouthful, but we call it the BSC Book Tag, and we're so excited about it, especially because when we were children, we absolutely loved the series. I loved the series growing up. I can speak for myself that the Babysitters Club series played a huge role in my reading growing up as a child here in Canada. I will borrow 30 to 50 books of the series from the library at a time, and I would carry them all the way back to my house, and it was like a 30-minute walk too. And these books were very vintage, so they were all hardcover and they weren't paperbacks. They were extremely heavy to carry, but I just remember my heart being so full when the books arrived at the library because I placed a hold on them and they arrived, and I would gather them up in my grocery store bags and then I'll just haul it on my shoulders, and I wouldn't even care about how much sweat was pouring down my back, because usually when I was reading in the summertime and it was really hot. I wouldn't really care because I was just so excited to read the books. And I remember staying up late at night on summer days to read the series and to just fall in love with all the characters. I was under the impression that everybody has read this series, but it's only come into my recent acknowledgement that not a lot of people has actually read this series or actually heard about this series, which is very shocking for me, especially because I'm from Canada and usually we're like the last ones to know about things. We're the last ones to know about like series and to actually get things at a time. And to think that a very old book series is not popular in all of America, especially because it's from America, but it's popular here in Canada, that's just shocking to me. And it's shocking to me that a lot of my close bookish friends hasn't actually read the book series, but they are interested in watching the new Netflix original series. And now this book tag was actually created because I watched the series on Netflix and I was just so overwhelmed with so many emotions because I remembered each and every single book that was based on the episodes, and it just brought back so many memories of the gang and in the club. And Spencer and I just loved it so much that we had to create this book tag. So we have 10 questions that are based on the first 10 books of the series, and we're so excited, so let's get started. So the first question is based on the first book, which is called Christy's Big Idea, and this question is, what's the video idea that you're most proud of? And I'll still say this again, and I've said it so many times, but basically it was the one where I did a books and makeup tag, but instead of making like a normal books and makeup tag where I do my normal everyday makeup, I transformed myself into an Asian baby girl, which is an Asian girl that is more Americanized, that wears a lot of heavier makeup, that wears different clothes at a different style. I really liked that video and I thought I was being very creative about it, but obviously I didn't really know my audience back then because a lot of people were very confused as to what an ABG was, and I think a lot of people are still confused about what is exactly an ABG and what classifies as an ABG. I guess that was just a label that everybody knows if you're Asian, but I just didn't think like other people knew, so that's why they never watched that video. But since talking about it in multiple videos, many people have actually gone back to go watch that video, and I don't want to go watch it because I think it's a little bit cringe. So book number 2 in the series is Claudia and the Phantom Phone Calls, and for this book we created a question called, what was the thing that scared you most about BookTube? And I think the thing that scared me most about creating BookTube or starting my channel was consistency. I was very nervous about creating a schedule and to upload regularly and to edit regularly. I have a lot of social media platforms to handle, and I wasn't sure if I could film videos, edit videos, and maintain a YouTube channel on top of everything else that I was doing. If you guys are new to this channel, you guys might not know that I'm actually bigger on Instagram. I appreciate Instagram a little bit more than YouTube, although I do like talking about books face to face. I also do like to express my creativity in other ways by actually taking pictures and posing for photos. So the third book in the series is called The Truth About Stacey, and now for this book we decided to create a question what's the book that you loved a lot but everybody else hated? So for this question, I'm going to choose No Judgments by Meg Cabot. And the reason why I'm picking this one is because my friend Lacey from Lacey Book Lovers actually hates this book, or she gave this book a 2 out of 5 star ratings, which I feel like is very rare for Lacey because she usually like gives like 3 out of 5 star ratings for average books. So in order for her to give it 2, it means that she just doesn't like it. And she didn't like this book because she thought that the characters were making very stupid decisions, especially since that these 2 characters were on an island, and then on like in that island areas there's always hurricanes and there's always tropical storms, and instead of fleeing the island like every sane character in the book, they decide to stay behind, border up their house, and to weather the storm by also saving all the animals on the island as well from all the pets that owners were leaving behind because they didn't have time to grab their animals. And I really liked it because I thought it was very light, I thought it was very fluffy, I thought it was very romantic. It was kind of like a love-hate relationship. It was opposites attract, and I was so excited to read the second book in the series, and it's called No Offense, and I really like that one too as well. So the next book in the series is Mary Ann Saves the Day, and now for this book we decided to create a question is, what's the book or author that kind of draws you out of a reading slump? And now for this one, I'm going to have to say Can You Keep a Secret by Sophie Kinsella. Sophie Kinsella is just an author that will definitely cheer me up whenever I'm feeling a little bit down about myself, and Can You Keep a Secret is my ultimate favorite romantic comedy book ever out there. I think I've reread the book like at least 5 times by now, and it's like kind of like an annual yearly reread because it was the book that like really grounded me, that made me think that like I could be this character. It's this book where it's about this girl who is the underdog of the romantic story. Like she is deemed as like kind of like a failure in life because she doesn't have her career set like her cousin. People are always looking down on her, and she looks down on herself and she thinks poorly about herself, but she is like a person that has opinions, and her opinions aren't necessarily bad, but it's just that everybody in her life is kind of not cheering for her, and then that's why she has to cheer for herself and she has to learn to be a stronger person. So the next question is based off the book of Dawn and the Possible Three, and now this question is, what's a trilogy that you've read and that you would recommend to everyone? And I honestly don't really read that many trilogies, although a lot of publishers like to publish like romance stories in trilogies. I'm just like, okay, like I don't really care. So it's been a long time since I've read a trilogy. I think the first one that comes to mind is the Bridesmaids trilogy from Jenny Holiday. It has my favorite like contemporary romance novel that I just love so much. It's called One and Only. It's the first book in the series. It involves a black sheep character who is deemed as like the bad boy who causes a lot of trouble, and our main female character kind of has to rein him in and has to control him so that he doesn't ruin his brother's wedding. And it's in turn that they both realize that they have misconceptions of each other and that they actually are perfect for each other. And I really love that novel, so I really recommend you to read that series. So the next book in the series is Christy's Big Day, and for Christy's Big Day we decided to have a question where it's your most anticipated release for the upcoming year. And I think I'm going to play it easy, I'm going to play it soft, I'm not going to think too hard about it, but number 1 will be Well Played by Jen DeLuca. I already have an arc of this. It's an ebook arc, but I would love a physical copy of this book when it comes out because it just looks so beautiful. It's yellow, it's beautiful, it's great. This one's book number 2 from the series. I don't remember the series called, but it follows Well Met, which is about an enemies to lovers romance involving 2 people that are playing in a Renaissance fair. So they're employees of a Renaissance fair. They're dressed up as like characters in the medieval times. I just loved it so much. I thought it was so fun. So I'm very excited for Well Played, which is kind of like a fling romance where our female character is having a fling with a guy, but the guy is not ready to commit, and then suddenly he's texting her all these love messages, and she's completely taken aback about his like 180 change, and until she realizes that she is texting someone else other than the guy that she was sleeping with. So the next book in the series is Claudia and Mean Janine, and for this book we decided to create a question, which is, what's the book that you thought you would hate but you ended up loving in the end? And I think I'm going to go with The Trouble with Hating You by Sanjini Patel. The reason why I thought I would hate it was because when I first started reading the first couple of chapters, I really didn't mesh well with our main female character, who was very strong and who was very independent. I think it was just because the author did a lot of brand drops. So like she would drop in the fact that our main female character wore Prada, wore Christian Louboutin, wore Louis Vuitton, and like basically tried to make her sound like that she was so successful that she could afford all these luxury brands like without a flinch and like not caring about like the price tags. And I thought that that was such a big like obnoxious thing that I was like, I'm not going to like this book because I can't relate to our main female character. But I ended up loving this book, and I loved like what it represented in, especially in like the South Asian community, and like their respect for their elders and their respect for other people. And I loved how feminist it was. I loved how it discussed about sexual assault. I love how important the messages that it conveyed, and it's definitely an amazing book that I recommend anyone to read, basically. So the next book in the series is Boy Crazy Stacey, and for this one we're asking who's your favorite love interest or who's your favorite book couple. And for this one I think I'm going to choose Bryson Keller from Date Me Bryson Keller. And now this book follows two characters who fake date, and it's a very popular guy named Bryson, and Bryson is dared in the beginning of the semester to date anybody who ever asks him to date, and like every single week he'll have like a new girlfriend, until one of the weeks our main male character Kai actually asks him out, and Bryson actually agrees to it, surprisingly, and they decide to fake date and go on dates. And it was so cute because I loved how Bryson was so respectful of Kai and like respectful of his sexual like preferences, and how he was respectful of like making sure that his secret was kept a secret, because it is Kai's secret to tell and it's not anybody else's business to know, and it's for him to share with others. And Bryson was always doing like emotional check-ins with Kai, making sure that he was okay, letting him know that he can bail out on the dates if he doesn't want to do it. It was so cute and it was so fluffy, and I awed at every single page. So the next book in the series is The Ghost at Dawn's House, and for this one we're asking you to tell us about a video that you thought wouldn't be so popular but then garnered a lot of attention and views, and you didn't expect it, so it completely shocked you and surprised you. For this one I think I'm going to try to keep it recent, and I'm going to say the mid-year freakout book tag. I literally did not expect it to be very popular, especially because everybody's subscriptions and everybody's like booktube was basically doing the same tag. But I ended up having, I think, like 1.6k views on the video, which is very shocking to me because like my videos don't normally head up into like the 1,000 range. Like I'm usually like very close to 1,000 views, but I never really surpass it unless it's like something like a very big deal thing, or if I'm talking about a very popular author. And for our last question, it's based off the book Logan Likes Mary Ann, and for this one we're asking you what's a book that your friend recommended to you that you ended up really liking. And I have a lot of friends and they recommend me books a lot of the times, and I end up reading them. Sometimes we have opposite opinions and I end up hating them, so I'm sorry to my close friends who recommend me books because we tend to have differences of opinions. But for this one I think I'm gonna go with Hearts of Flame by Joanna Lindsey, simply because it was our historical romance readathon group read, and I wasn't really participating in the conversation, like the group chat that I was having with Lacey and Jessica, and it was like Jessica recommending, how about we read Hearts of Flame by Joanna Lindsey, and then like Lacey being all for Joanna Lindsey, and then me just being like, sure. I'm not really too sure if I'm going to like it, specifically because the summary was talking about Vikings. It was in the Regency area where I was so familiar with the Dukes and Duchesses, but I read it and I ended up binging it. It was just so good, and it was a recommendation that technically Jessica recommended to me. So our bonus question is actually, who is our favorite BSC member? And for this, I'm gonna have to state the obvious. I really liked Claudia Kishi, and it's obvious because she's from Asian descent, so I related to her a lot on that level, and also because she was like one of the very few Asian characters that I grew up with in books, and it was amazing to read about a character that wasn't our typical Asian character, who wasn't good at math, who liked arts, couldn't care less about like studying and things like that. And also I really liked Claudia's like style. Like me and Lacey were talking about this, about how Claudia has like the most amazing style on the show, and how she like wears like outfits that look so good. And even back then in the books when they were describing her style was like so good. Like, I was like, I would never be able to pull it off. But for some reason, Anne M. Martin writes it so well that I think that the outfits look fantastic. She looks beautiful on the covers. And also the fact that she hides snacks in her room. And like, she hides snacks in her room because her parents are very strict and her parents don't want her to eat a lot of junk food. So she decides to hide like chocolates and like chips behind like pillows and in drawers and in books. And you get to see that in the TV show too as well. And I just bawled because I was just like, oh my God, that was like my childhood, me hiding snacks in my room, pretending I was Claudia. But anyways, that is it for all the questions that me and Spencer have created for the Babysitters Club book tag. And hopefully you guys are interested in joining with us. And if you guys are interested in doing this tag, I'm leaving all the questions in the description box for you to follow along. Definitely use our hashtag, which is BSC Book Tag, so that we can view all your videos. And if you haven't checked her out yet, definitely check out Spencer. I'm leaving all her details in my description box below. Go follow her. She makes great videos, especially if you love cozy mysteries. But until next time, I'll see you guys again. Bye.